Hi, how are all of you doing? We're going to look at another learning activity in this short talk, and this one is on the strategy development process. I know you're looking at a lot of strategic elements in this course, the global strategic management and how multinational corporations look at strategy, and it's very valid. However, what I would like to cover quickly, and there's a slide presentation on this in your modules that you should use to accompany this talk, is how the actual strategy development process works. How does that go? And I've spent a lot of time on this over my career, and it's something I think that there is a process that is highly effective. It's a little short what we're going to go over now, but I've given you the slides there, and again, we can, please feel free to contact me, discuss it further. But it's highly important to be able to do something and strategically with your company. If you're a person that can get things done through effective process of strategy, you will go far. So hopefully this helps you and piques your interest in becoming more of a strategic thinker. First of all, in a I use 10 steps in my when I develop strategy. I do this a lot as a consultant, working when I worked in my own companies, but also with the companies I work for as a consultant. I go through this 10-step process. And that's basically testing the viability of an idea, developing goals, a SWOT analysis, and a competitor breakdown, how to generate inspired ideas, and then you test those ideas with logic. And then those ideas are aimed at achieving your goals. Then how do you develop effective action steps to implement those ideas, documenting the strategy, presenting the strategy, and then how you should use checklists to make sure that everything you need to be covered gets covered, and then how strategies are reviewed in order to tweak and adjust them for continued effectiveness over the life of the plan. Right now, and a lot of times in these mini cases, you can see what I think you can narrow it down a bit and really look at things that are like the SWOT analysis, action steps, documented strategy. And so sometimes, in the interest of saving time, especially when you're looking at some of the things you're doing in this course on the case studies, you can leave out some of the points that don't apply when you're being asked a specific strategic question on a case study, for example. And I highlighted those in green there. I would like to say a quick thing on the difference between business plans and strategic plans. As you know, there's a lot of talk on business plans. In fact, you're always encouraged to have a business plan, you always work on those, and that's of course valid. However, a business plan by nature is a little bit more tactical, short-term, and focused on a certain business model, target customers, how you fit in with the market. You're looking at the financial results, a short-term budget. You're looking at who's going to do what, operational efficiencies, how you operate, etc. So in other words, it's like a tactical plan on how to be more effective in a given business line or business situation. A strategy, on the other hand, is longer term, more vision-focused, more conceptual. You're looking at your goals and your ideas, and you're usually looking 3 to 5 years, maybe even longer. It contains action steps and looks for a way to have sustained performance over the long haul. My view is that starting out with a business plan without your strategic plan in place really gets you off in the wrong directions, because you need to have your strategy, your overall first, and then of course the business plans can fit underneath that. You won't see that all everywhere stated quite like that, but it seems fairly obvious. You really need to have the strategy before, and then what you're doing on the big picture, and then go down to the more closer to the ground elements that are found in the business plan. You see on page 5 there, these guiding principles of strategy development. Over the years I've been in business, these are the key things for strategy development. You keep this readily available. I wish we could go over it in person more, longer. However, these are really key things that you'll find are necessary to being a good strategist and to come up with a good strategy development process. And you'll see those. I'm not going to read all those to you, but basically they show you what a strategy must have, and what questions they have to answer, and certain characteristics, and that a good strategy has. Test this against strategic thinking. You see, one thing you can see in strategy, there's a whole bunch of verbiage and words used that don't mean anything. I like to keep it simple, keep it good, focus and action based is how you like to see your strategy development, and that should help you, that guideline there. And one thing I want to talk a little bit is one of the elements is the viability of a business. This is something, we could talk about a lot of different areas, but I think let's look at the first one. Is a business or is a business line potentially viable? And there's a way to look at that, and I think that this is an effective structure for that. Basically, you want to look at different things and say, where can my company be the best, or where can we be the significant? Where can we be first? Where can we be relevant? And then you want to say, now, okay, so you're defining where you can make an impact. It doesn't do any good to do something that no one cares about, or that you're just no one or nobody in that field. Then you want to look at, say, are we willing to commit to that business with a passion, product, services, resources, and funding? All these things are related. They all show your commitment. Do you care about what you're doing? Does your company care? How can you prove that your company is willing to resource this effort you're making in terms of the people, the funding, the track record? What makes it clear that you're going to go in wholeheartedly? If you go in half-heartedly on a business, it'll fail. Or if you're just trying things out that you don't really want to do, it won't work. I do believe in testing things on small elements first. See if it kind of shooting arrows and see if the cannon should follow. However, if you're going to do, let's give an example. Say you're really good at the brokerage business in Latin America, and you understand the foreign nationals and their wants and their needs and their investment products, and you're thinking, well, I've done all I can do there. I think I'll try something else. Which would be better, to expand into a different country in Latin America like Brazil, or to go to Utah? It's much better to go to the other country in Latin America, because you already know how to do that. Going into Utah would be a completely different business, completely with a whole bunch of different variables. You'd be competing against everybody, and you wouldn't have your people would be unlikely to be able to prove that they have a track record, history, resources, and commitment to that market. It would likely fail. So you need to be able to show why that's going to work. And then you want to understand the drivers. The drivers, by definition, are something you click on this side and it comes out that side. A driver is what makes the business go. It takes some time to figure that out. You have to do some research, analytics, some studies to figure out what makes it happen. Remember, a driver is something that you push one end and it makes something else happen the other side. You need to understand those. Take the time when you're doing a strategy, when you're suggesting something, to make sure you understand what those drivers are, and that you can defend them and explain them to people. Say, okay, when we do this, this is going to happen. How do you know? Well, we'll show you. So these are the key things. Where can you be a major player, a significant player? Do you have the passion, resources, funding for it, and you can prove that? And do you understand the business? Do you really know what makes it work? Those are how you can tell whether or not your business idea or new business venture or business direction has a fundamental viability. Again, this is I'll show you. There's a few tools you can use on slide 7. How to fill that out, and it's basically something you can fill out pretty quickly. Well, quickly as you can, but make sure you know those drivers. It might take a little bit of time, and you can just see how viable your business is. The other thing I want to talk about quickly is generating goals. Goals are fundamental to strategy. If you don't know where you're going, you can't get there, and it's just like taking a trip to Minneapolis. If you just head off, you could end up somewhere else. So you want to know where you're going and to go, and you know where you are. So those are two key things when you're setting goals: is where are you and where do you want to be. And a lot of times your goal will be exactly that. It'll be the gap between where you are and where you wanted to be. What I expected, what I got. How far I went, how far did I want to go? How many did I sell? How many did I want to sell? So these identify a gap, therefore creating a goal. And sometimes you think, well, I don't want to fill that goal. That's fine. But if you look at that gap and say, that's a big enough gap that I need to address, that becomes a goal. So here's how and this is a goal generator tool. It works really well. Again, I'd like to have more time with you to talk about this. Basically, when you use this to generate goals. You want to write down your issue, your problem. You want to do a small list of potential goals to resolve those questions, and then give yourself very little time to write them down. You already know the answers to these. If you're in business, you give somebody 10 minutes or 10 years, they're going to come up with the same answers. So everybody knows. So let's try to get those goals quickly. Make sure they're clear, numerically defined, kind of yes or no, not much ambiguity in them. And then you want to make sure a couple key things. When you set a goal, when you set a thing, make sure you can do it. Make sure you can do it with the people around you, yourself, or with your team. It doesn't work to have goals that you are dependent upon other areas of the business or other parts of the company, head office. They usually don't come through. So, or they do it too slow. Do the things you can work on. Do things you can work on now. And when you want to work on your goals immediately. Goals that are set that aren't immediately started will generally not get done. So you want to do things that are pretty big. They work. You can do it with your own resources, and you can start on right away. And you have again, identifiable, measurable, numerical, if possible, results to them. And there's a sheet on 9 on how to do goals. When it comes to creating ideas, your ideas, again, they're going to be, your ideas are based on achieving your goals. So a quick way to do ideas is you start working on your own, and you do the assessment for your fundamental viability. You write down the goals from the goal generator exercise. You look at your SWOT analysis. We didn't cover that much, but your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, who the competitors are. You put all that together. You get all that in front of you. You really make sure you know everything. Ideas come from knowledge. Even though people think, it just popped in my head. It usually doesn't. It pops in their head because they know a lot of stuff, or they're thinking creatively about a lot of stuff they know. So you want to do everything you can to think of Mad Men. He was always having ideas, but he's always thinking of ideas. Be a person that thinks, put all this together. And you know what? Your brain is beautiful for this. Your brain is designed to put a bunch of stuff together. Load up your brain. Load up your brain with facts. Get it all together. Start thinking laterally, and then give it some rest. Step away from your problem for a second and let your subconscious work on all those issues. You've all done that, where you just wake up with an idea, or you're walking along and something pops in your head. That's how your brain works. Let it work. Use it for what it's made for, which is to come up and put things together. So in this case, make sure you know what your goals are, know what your strengths and weaknesses are, know you've got something viable to work with. Go over this in detail. Know your drivers. Know and then your ideas will start coming. Get those ideas down on paper, and then we'll move on for the next step, which is testing them. Testing your ideas. Again, we'll cover this a bit when we look at a writing thing. But basically, your ideas should be tested for logic. There are only 6 questions that somebody can ask you when you say something. If you say, "I think we should do this," they can ask you 6 questions. If you think, let's pursue the following business. Let's open a new plant. Let's move our production facility to Venezuela. Let's decide. Let's ship on ocean containers rather than air freight. They're going to say, why would we do that? How would we do that? How do you know it'll work? Who is going to be in charge of doing that? When will we get it done? And what will happen if we do it? Those are the questions, and it's extremely important. Whenever you say something, whenever you make a strategy, or even when you write a little paper and make a proposal, these are the questions that you're going to be asked. These are the questions you need to resolve. Whatever you make a point, you know what? I think the Dolphins are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Why would they want to do that? Well, you know that. How are they going to do that? Obviously, they're not. But anyway, you would have to describe how they're going to do that. How do you know? You'd have to support that with facts. Who is going to be in charge of doing this? And you list the players, the coaches, etc. When? Of course, you know that already. When the season, that's in a framework. And what will happen if they do? And all that sort of thing. The what will happen is key. In business, the what will happen is usually your budget, usually your forecast. Many times you have a really good idea, one that can work, but the end result is not that big. You don't want to do that kind of stuff. You want to make sure that your good ideas, even if they're good ideas, or that they produce something. There are a lot of good ideas that are not that beneficial financially to your company. So what will happen is your forecast on what the result will be of all this work. So remember, why do you want to do something? How are we going to do it? How do you know it'll work? Who will be in charge? If without a who, you can't get there. When will it be accomplished? And what will happen? If our strategy works, what will be the result? Okay, these are just kind of a repetition to help you with the business viability on slide 12. 13 is the same, and then you'll see a little bit on how you fill out that business viability thing there. Okay, I think that's it for this for that. I think that again, I'd like to go over that longer with you. at some point it works. That process works. It's difficult to go through it so fast, but basically give it some thought. Look at those principles of strategy, see what you can come up with on that, and how it helps you. And again, be sure to let me know if there's something you would like to ask more about that, and we can go from there. I do have a book, this book right here, that I wrote that is exactly this. So if you ever are interested in following this further, that book, Inspired Logical Strategy That Works, goes over this, and it's highly effective for figuring out how to do a strategy. Anyway, hope that helps you, and look forward to the next one. All right, talk to you soon. Thanks.